I'm on Lake Mesobesic. Because I'm out here doing some sort of preliminary research on a video about the Manchester Coal and Ice Company and its connection between both Mesobesic and Maxwell Pond, which is where I was yesterday. I have been pretty infinitely fascinated in the industrialization of ice back in the late 1800s and early 1900s, before refrigeration was really popular. But where I am right now is the old site of the Manchester Coal and Ice Company. This is technically Auburn, and it sits right along what is now Manchester Road. And what's cool about this is there's actually some foundation left over from that ice house. They began operation in 1896, and what was kind of cool about them is they also offered a service where they would deliver the ice to you door to door, and customers would put a card in their window signifying if they needed ice, and then depending on how you rotated it with the numbers would signify how much of the ice that you needed. They would clear ice out of this little section here. In the summertime, they would have to come through and take all the weeds out of the shoreline here so that in the winter, there wouldn't be tons of weeds inside of the ice. The foundation that's left over here on the lake was actually part of a cool little conveyor belt system that they had where they would harvest big chunks of ice out and they would put it onto a conveyor belt, which would then pull it and lift it over Manchester Road into the ice house that was just basically right across from me. And on the other side of that ice house, they had their very own train depot, which is right here where the rail trail is along Mesobesic. They would load their ice up there and it would go to Boston and then be auctioned off to go onto ships and be shipped around the world for various purposes, whether it was to keep shipments cold or just the ice in general. And I know I've said this before, but I always like to iterate it because it's interesting to me. In those times, auctioning your ice was based on the purity of it, because that would help signify how fast it would melt. In 1929, however, the Department of Waterworks for Manchester bought all this land, but they continued to let the Manchester Coal and Ice Company operate on it until there was a heavy snowfall in the 30s that pretty much forced the building to collapse, and they just tore it down. And that was pretty much the end of the Coal and Ice Company at that time. However, across the street, you can still find, you have to do a little digging through the brush, but you still can find the original foundation of the ice house. Now, I'm curious as the placement exactly of where that belt, that wooden bridge that brought the ice over top of the road, where it actually crossed the road. I'm also trying to figure out the relationship between the Manchester Coal and Ice Company and Maxwell Pond, because Maxwell Pond was named after A.H. Maxwell, who was the founder of the Amoskeag Ice Company, which had nothing to do with here, but yet all of the historical information says that the Manchester Coal and Ice Company got their ice from Maxwell Pond, and also I can attest to, because of the purity thing, that Maxwell Pond at the time was really pure, and so it had some very, very valuable ice. So I don't know why. I'm confused. I'm trying to figure some of this stuff out. So I wanted to come out here though and see this foundation, and it was worth it.